Hello, and this is the first of my video classes to talk about how to do some artwork at home that is with materials that you pretty much might have around the house. So this is a class about how to make a tessellation. A tessellation is any repeating pattern, and there's a great artist by the name of M.C. Escher who did all kinds of fantastic drawings and stuff, and he did a lot of work with tessellations. So I'm going to show you a picture of a tessellation that I made. So this is a tessellation. If you look carefully, you can see it looks a lot like a puzzle, and you have the pattern repeating, and then I also used repeating colors. In this I used red and green. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you an easy way to make your own puzzle piece that can be turned into a tessellation. And all you really need to do this is some paper. This happens to be a piece of printer paper, a pair of scissors, a pencil. If you got a ruler, that's really helpful, but you can even kind of get away without that because we're going to be folding the paper. And you also need some Scotch tape, clear tape, masking tape, or something like that. So let's get started. I'm going to be going back and forth between my side, which is over here because I've got materials there. So the first thing you want to do, is get a piece of paper. This is a piece of printer paper. And what you need to do on this is you need to create a square. Here's a square, and this is an even square. So each of these sides, if you go back to your geometry class, is the same. I did 3 by 3 inches, so that's really helpful. So if you've got a piece of paper like this, you can basically start at a corner where you know you've got a 90-degree angle, measure over 3 inches, measure from here 3 inches, connect the lines, and cut it out. I used a ruler. I also had a triangle, which is really helpful. You probably don't have one of those at home, but you can just use a ruler to measure it. But if you have a problem and you say, well, I don't exactly know, I don't have a ruler handy, I can't really measure that well, take the same piece of paper, find a square corner, okay, and this is an even edge here, and all you need to do, I'm going to hold it up so you can see, is fold it so that this edge is even. In other words, the paper's not hanging over the edge this way or behind. It's absolutely even. And you can do that by holding it with your fingers. You can then press the paper down. That gives you a really good crease. And you can see that crease right there. And then I can open it up and I can make it, basically I can visualize how far over I am from here to here. Now I want that side to be the same. So what I did, because I didn't have a ruler handy, is I took a pencil, and I laid the pencil, I'm going to try to hold this up so you can see, I laid the pencil in, and I kind of figured out how long this was by putting the pencil and using my finger as a guide. Got a measurement like that. Okay, let's get closer to the camera so you can see I kind of came into that middle like that, so I knew how big it was. And then what I did is I flipped the paper, and I came along the side of my fold. I'm going to hold it up again. Came along the side of my fold, and wherever my pencil had ended, I made a little mark. Then I took the pencil and drew it in, and I know that's where I'm going to fold to. So what I did now is I turned the paper upside down. I'm going to hold it so you can see, hopefully, you can see that little pencil mark there. My lighting isn't the greatest. There you go, that's better. So you can see that pencil mark, that's my fold line. So I'm going to now go to that, and I'm going to carefully find that mark, and I'm going to line up an even edge, making sure it's even on the sides over here, and I'm right attached, and I can fold that up. Now if I did it right, my folds line up, and they do. You can see that's folded evenly, it lines up, and when I open this up, I can see, and I'm going to hold it to the camera so you can see it, get a little bit of light on it maybe. I have got it set up so that I can, there, that's better. You can see in the corner there how it's square. And that worked out well, and that was without a ruler. But if you have a ruler, do it with a ruler, it's easier. As I said in my welcoming video, I'm just going straight through, so hopefully it'll make sense. So there's the paper. I laid out a square. I've now cut the square out. So I'm going to move this piece of paper. So there's my square. My next step is with this square is I want to fold it in half in both directions. So that means first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it up, and I'm going to very carefully, I'm trying to get closer to the camera, Get that even. And again, I'm trying to get that even edge here. I'm using my fingers to guide it, and I can feel that it is even. It's not sticking out. Hold it tight with your fingers like that. Okay, really tight, and then press this way, keeping it held tight. Check that your edges are even. If you want to put it down on a flat surface like this, I'm going to hold back here. That might be easier. Hold it on the table. And just make sure that all your edges line up. Don't let them be crooked. Okay? And fold it hard. The reason you want to fold it hard is so that that line will really show up. Now you can see if I hold this up to the camera again, I'm trying to deal with my weird lighting in here, but you can kind of see how that's folded really hard. I've got a hard line. So now once I've done that, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to fold it in the opposite direction so that it'll make an X. So now what I'm going to do is do the same exact thing. There's my fold, okay? Put it down on the table like that. I'm now folding across, and I want those edges to line up. So I'm going to carefully look at what I'm doing, making sure that everything lines up the way it needs to. If it's not lining up right for you, I find I pick it up. It's a little bit easier. Like that, I can see it. Press it on the table. Good tight press. And now I have got it in 4s. And I'm going to try to get this to the camera. Hopefully you can see it. So again, it is in 4s. You can kind of see it there. How it looks like it's in 4s. That's what we want. Okay. So now, whatever you want to do for your tessellation, for your actual shape, it doesn't really matter. You can make, I did something that was really simple. I used a circle and a triangle. That's fine. The first one I did, I made it really complicated. Let me show you that. It's just hiding on me. Here it is. This is the first one I made. And my tessellation piece, as you can see, I'll hold it against my dark background here, it's pretty complicated. And when I tried to make it work on this sheet of paper, what was happening, when I try to get close, you might not be able to see it very well. It's kind of hard to see. But as I started to lay it out on the paper, because you have to trace this when it's done, it was too complicated, and it was hard to line it up as a puzzle. So what I'd recommend is don't make something as complicated as this one, okay? That's too complicated. Go simple. Simple is always best when you're learning something anyway. So, going simple. I have got my piece of paper, and what I've done is on one side, I'm going to try to get close so you can see it. Hopefully you can. It's a little difficult to see with this light in here. But what I've done is I have basically taken and I've drawn a shape, okay, on one side of this piece of paper. Again, my lighting in here is not the best for me. So I've got one shape drawn on this side of the fold, okay? So one side of the fold gets a shape drawn. I'm going to do it in marker. Hopefully you'll see it darker. Hopefully you can see that if I get into the light right. I don't know. I'm going to try. There, you can see it. So that's my first shape on that side, okay, which is a circle. Now I'm going to open it up. There's my other fold on the other side, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a shape on that side. Don't let the two shapes touch. Leave some space. And I now have that shape drawn, and I'm going to hold that up. Get it close to the camera. And there's, oops, sorry, there's the other shape right there that you can see it. So if I open this up all together, hopefully you can see it, there are my two shapes. Now what I need to do is I am going to be cutting both of these shapes out, okay? And I'm going to cut on that dark line. And what's going to happen is this piece is going to slide over and get attached over here. This piece, when it's cut out, is going to slide over and get attached over here. That's going to make the puzzle pieces, okay? So let me show you what that looks like. I have one all set. So there's my original that I set up, okay? And here is it with it cut and slid over. So what I've done is I've cut the piece out here, and I've cut the piece out here, and I've got those folds on the back that are here. Those are great guidelines. And what I've done is I've slid the pieces over, okay? I've slid them over, and I've taped into the edge. Now, I made sure that I taped the paper against each other. I didn't overlap the paper, and it's a piece of tape on there. And I did the same thing for this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of these out and show you how to get something like that. Slide my stuff around. Scissors. And I'm going to cut that out. There's one. There's two. And I'll let that drop out. So there it is cut. Can you sort of see there? Okay. Now, you got to make sure that your shape, however you cut it out, use the same side of the paper. Don't flip it over because the shape might be different. You want to slide it across. So what I did is I folded the paper, and I've got the fold in my shape like that. And if you look close, I've got one, resting on top of the other. See if you can see it there? Yep. And I'm going to slide it over. So I'm going to come back towards me, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. I've got the shape right here. If you look, it's right there. And I'm sliding it over, and I'm making sure that wherever my fold is, I got that fold line, that lets me know that I've got it lined up. If my fold line is off, for example, if I take that shape and I slide it all the way over there, it will not work as a puzzle piece because it has to match this one. So I'm going to make sure that it's slid all the way over. It's not overlapping. The piece of paper is not on top of itself. It's next to it and kind of pulled in really tight. And now I'm going to take a piece of tape, making sure that it's really in there snug. What I like to do is take a piece of tape and kind of put it on top of one piece first, like that. Kind of hold things in place. You can put it underneath too, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to slide the two together. So I've got it there. I'm going to slide them together. I'm making sure that they line up. I'm looking for that little mark. Okay, it's real important. And I've got it now slid over. So that shape has slid over there. This shape gets cut out, okay, and it gets slid over here, okay? And you're going to create your puzzle piece. So I'm going to show you the one that's all done. Okay, this is it. Completely done. Okay, so that's my puzzle piece. So this will fit in here, and this will fit in there. Now you want to get a piece of paper to do this on. It can be any kind of paper you want, back of a paper bag, piece of printer paper, anything really works. I'm using printer paper. So I'm going to get my sheet of printer paper, and then I want to decide how I want to lay this out. Okay, now I'm going to hold this up so you can sort of see. I can start at a corner, which is really great, and work my way across. I could do it at an angle and work my way across. Either way, really doesn't matter. I'm going to start at an angle so you can kind of see what's going on. So I'm going to take part of this, and I'm just going to put it somewheres on the paper. It could be in the middle and work either way. It could be at the top. Doesn't really matter. And I'm going to hold it down tight. If you want to put a little piece of tape on the back of it to keep it from moving, you can do that too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace around that pattern. So I'm going to trace carefully, running my pencil just along the edge of the paper. Let the pencil sort of fall along the edge of the paper gently. That way your pattern piece will be working for you like a ruler, and it will be easier overall when you do it that way. So I'm going to trace this out. If you make a mistake and the line kind of jumps or something like that, if you're doing it in a pencil as opposed to a pen, you can go back and erase something if there's a problem. So I'm moving along here. I'm going around all my edges, carefully watching what I'm doing, making sure that everything is lining up. And I want to make sure I've got everything. So if you want to make sure you've got everything, hold the piece in place so it doesn't move. You can kind of move it like this with your finger underneath. Okay, and kind of pick it up, and you can check. So I've got it, the first one traced. So I'm going to hold it up again. Hopefully you can see this, not with my, try to keep my face in. You can sort of see that first one that's in there that's traced? Okay. Now, I'm going to take my pattern piece, and now it's going to line up. So for example, I've got a point right there, and I've got a point in my drawing. I'm going to lock that in. I got to make sure it's the same exact way. I'm going to lock that in, and I'm going to fit it like a puzzle piece, and I'm going to trace it again. And I'm going to keep tracing it. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the sides. I'm going to add the puzzle piece in and keep tracing it. Let me show you what it looks like then. Okay, let's get that close into the camera so you can kind of see it. If you look carefully, you can see that the puzzle pieces have been traced in there. Okay, they're in and you can see them that they fit. If when you're tracing something you're having a problem, it doesn't really seem to line up exactly, you can kind of manipulate it a little bit and make it fit. If you found out that, oh, I taped that piece in the wrong place, it's not working, take the tape off the back, you can move it a little bit and get it to line up. The main thing is you want these things, these pieces, parts of the tessellation, to line up like puzzle pieces. That's the main thing you want to do. You want it to line up like a puzzle. So once that's done, you can decide, what do I want to do with the tessellation? Do I want it to be in color? Do I want it to have scrap paper, newspaper, whatever you want to do? Totally up to you. If you are working with color and you want a nice dark edge, a good thing to do is to take a marker or a pencil is fine, and make your pencil lines that are on this really dark. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking my marker and I am outlining what I've already got there. And if I did it right, all my lines should be lining up and it really should look pretty good. The pieces should not be too far off from each other. The lines should be working, okay? So I'm not going to trace all of this because it would take me a while, but I just want you to see what I'm talking about. So I've got that goes down there, that goes up there, that goes over there, and that one goes over there. So here is one that I've started to trace out. I'm getting close to the camera so you can see it, and you can see the other ones in pencil. So I'm going to just keep tracing those, and once that's traced and it's all solid, I can then decide what I want to do. Do I want to add color or whatever? I've got a couple to show you, and again, any kind of paper is really good that you have around the house to do this with. It doesn't really matter. Okay, this one, as I said, was done same way, where I did it in marker, and then I used colored pencils to fill it in. That's probably one of the easiest and simplest things to do, but you can be more creative if you want to. This is recycled old wrapping paper. Had a piece of wrapping paper around the house, and what I did is once I drew it out on the paper, and I still had pencil marks, I didn't use marker on this one, I then started to trace the actual pattern pieces out on the old wrapping paper. And then I cut the wrapping paper out and I glued it on. Now I can go to work and say, I'm going to trace around these in marker or another color to make a border, whatever you want to do. But that's recycled paper. That could easily be newspaper. It could be a colorful ad from, Star Market or Shaw's, whatever you get in the mail. That would work really good too. So that works good. Another thing that you can do is if you want to be more thoughtful and maybe you like to write, I did one of these that has micro calligraphy in it, and I'll get that and show you. Okay, this is micro calligraphy, and hold it the right way so you could actually read a little bit if you wanted to. But as you can see, inside each of those blocks, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring it really close to the camera. Okay, so my face is going to disappear for the most part. And if you look real close, you can see that I've written in it. And that is actually a story about what I'm going through right now being at home and how I want to do my best work. And so what I've done is I've just followed the shape with my own writing. It could be printing, whatever you like, but that's done that way. And I decided this one's going to have a blue border. Now the other squares, the other parts of the tessellation are white. I could fill them in if I wanted to with shaded pencil. I could put cut paper in it, really anything you want. So you want to think about the fact that what you're doing, once you've got it drawn out and made, is think about how you can be creative with it. What can you do with it? I want to use calligraphy. I want to use paper. I want to use markers. Whatever you have at home, it doesn't really matter. Anything can work, and it doesn't need to be done with anything except a a couple of pieces of paper, and hopefully, you're going to need a pair of scissors and something that, you can shade with or change the pattern. I could have drawn a pattern in here. I could have made this like a checkerboard pattern or a diamond pattern and had it alternate. But the main thing is in a tessellation, whatever you put in one piece is going to be the same as it goes through. So I didn't change the wrapping paper. You notice the pattern of the wrapping paper, even how there's that red line that goes diagonally? I made sure to keep it the same way because you want it to look like it's repeating. If I had flipped this around and turned the paper the other way, it would look weird because the pink would be down here and the red would be up there and the pattern wouldn't be the same. So it's real important, if you got something with a pattern like this, have the patterns the same as you're going through. If I was doing a checkerboard pattern in one of these, for example, and I was drawing it, I would put a ruler up here and I would make my checkerboard going across, and I would do it right across the entire page, knowing that I'm only drawing in the ones where I want the checkerboard, but it would all line up. These lines across here would line up with those lines, or and vice versa. As you can see how that's lining up that way. That's what you would do if you were doing a pattern like that. So anything that you want to do. It's a fun project. Hopefully it's something that you'll like to do. And I'm going to look forward to seeing what you've got and talking about it and talking about your process and what you came up with. So thank you, good luck, and good work. Bye.